Carolina Sanchez woke up with a sharp gasp after having the same painful dream again. In it, she was a little girl running after her older sister. She tripped and fell, and instead of helping her kindly, her sister only sighed and called her a clumsy child. Even after waking up, the memory stayed with her. The Sanchez family was the only ducal house in the kingdom of Celestia. Their family had served the kingdom for generations, producing legendary knights, wise ministers, and loyal leaders. Every Duke of House Sanchez was respected as a symbol of hope for the nation. Because of this proud history, everyone expected greatness from the Duke's children. The Duke had two daughters. The eldest, Flora Sanchez, was gifted in every way. She was beautiful, talented, and admired throughout the kingdom. Carolina Sanchez, however, believed she had nothing special. No matter how hard she trained, she could never match her sister's abilities. Many nobles even called her the disgrace of the Sanchez family. More than anything, Carolina wished she had just one talent she could proudly call her own. During a grand party at the mansion, guests gathered to celebrate while praising Flora Sanchez's beauty and grace. Carolina quietly stood alone, feeling out of place. Suddenly, a young woman who had been dancing stumbled and injured her face. Her worried family called for a doctor, but Flora Sanchez calmly stepped forward. She offered a short prayer, and warm light surrounded her hands. Moments later, the woman's injury disappeared completely. Everyone was amazed by Flora Sanchez's holy magic. The guests praised her, saying she would surely become the kingdom's next saint. In Celestia, the title of saint was given only to a woman blessed with extraordinary holy magic. Even Carolina believed no one else deserved the title more than Flora Sanchez. As more guests surrounded Flora Sanchez with compliments, some of them mocked Carolina by comparing the two sisters. Flora Sanchez politely told them not to tease her younger sister because Carolina was very sensitive. Feeling guilty, the girls apologized to Carolina. She quietly accepted their apology, and everyone praised Flora Sanchez for being such a kind older sister. However, once no one else could hear, Flora Sanchez leaned close and whispered that hearing the truth must be painful. She reminded Carolina that she was nothing but the disgrace of House Sanchez and laughed softly, thanking her for always making Flora Sanchez look even better. Thanks to Carolina's embarrassment, Flora Sanchez's popularity continued to grow. Later, while riding home in the carriage, Flora Sanchez continued insulting her. She complained that if their father had not been busy, she would never have allowed Carolina to ride with her. She claimed Carolina should be grateful just to share the same carriage with the future saint. The silence only annoyed Flora Sanchez even more. She demanded Carolina say something and mocked her for having no manners. Then she began criticizing her appearance. Unlike the rest of the Sanchez family, Carolina had gray hair instead of golden or black. Flora Sanchez jokingly blew at her hair, saying it looked like it was covered in dust. She also pointed out Carolina's red eyes, saying they looked nothing like either of their parents. Flora Sanchez even questioned whether Carolina truly belonged to the family. Some people had once said Carolina looked just like their late mother, Duchess Karen Sanchez, but Flora Sanchez dismissed that idea completely. She insisted there was no way someone as worthless as Carolina could resemble such a beautiful woman. Every word stabbed Carolina's heart. She quietly begged Flora Sanchez to stop and asked if she had done something wrong. If so, she would gladly apologize. Instead of stopping, Flora Sanchez brought up the deepest wound of all. Carolina had never met her mother because Duchess Karen died shortly after giving birth to her. Flora Sanchez declared that if Carolina had never been born, their mother might still be alive. She described Karen as a kind and gentle woman who loved everyone, then declared she would never forgive Carolina for taking their mother's life. Flora Sanchez refused to acknowledge Carolina as her sister and rejected her completely. After returning home, the family butler informed Carolina that her father and King Nathan were waiting for her. When she entered the room, King Nathan welcomed her warmly and surprisingly asked whether she had someone she loved. Before Carolina could answer, her father urged the king to explain the real reason for the meeting. The king revealed that Celestia's alliance with the neighboring Malcosian Empire was in danger after one of their nobles insulted the emperor's younger sister. To avoid political conflict, the empire demanded a marriage alliance. They requested that a high-ranking noblewoman from Celestia marry the empire's second prince. That prince was Edward Ruby Martinez, commander of the famous Piborn Knights. He was known across the world for his unmatched skill with both sword and magic. He had won countless battles, but he also carried a terrifying reputation. He showed no mercy to his enemies, and stories claim that even women and children were not spared on the battlefield. People feared him and called him the bloodthirsty prince. King Nathan explained that his own daughter was already promised to someone else, while Flora Sanchez could not be sent because she was expected to become the next saint. That left only Carolina. Without hesitation, Carolina accepted the marriage. She believed her sacrifice would protect both her kingdom and her family. After the king departed, her father, Duke Raymond Sanchez, gently asked whether she truly wished to marry Edward. If she had any doubts, he promised he would try to convince the king to cancel everything. Carolina answered that refusing would place the kingdom in danger, but before she could finish, Duke Raymond embraced her tightly. He told her he could never watch his precious daughter be treated like a sacrifice. Hearing those words shocked Carolina. She had always believed her father was ashamed of her. Duke Raymond immediately denied it. He asked who had ever made her think such a terrible thing. To him, Carolina had always been his beloved daughter. Moved to tears, Carolina explained that she accepted the marriage willingly because she wanted to be useful to both her family and her country. Her father smiled sadly and told her she reminded him so much of her late mother. She was hardworking, kind, and always placed others before herself. For the first time, Carolina asked her father to tell her more about Duchess Karen. That evening, they stayed together for hours as Duke Raymond shared one memory after another. He told stories about Karen's determination, how she practiced until she finally defeated him in chess, how she secretly prepared delicious late-night snacks, and how she loved picking flowers to decorate their home. Though serious, most of the time, she also enjoyed harmless pranks that made him laugh. Even during her final days, she never blamed anyone for her illness. Carolina listened with tears in her eyes, grateful to finally learn about the mother she had never known. Outside the room, a maid named Iris secretly overheard their laughter before reporting everything to Flora Sanchez. A few days later, Carolina visited her mother's grave with Duke Raymond. He carried a bouquet of blue and white hyacinths, symbols of everlasting and modest love. Standing before the grave, Duke Raymond quietly admitted that even after 16 years, he still missed his wife every day. Sometimes, he still found himself searching for traces of her without realizing it. Carolina then spoke to her mother. She told Karen that she had grown up healthy and would soon leave for the Malcosian Empire to marry Prince Edward. Since this would likely be her final visit, she asked one question she had carried in her heart for years. She asked whether her mother had ever regretted giving birth to her. She admitted that many nobles called her the disgrace of House Sanchez. They believed she lacked talent and had caused her mother's death. Through tears, Carolina wondered if Karen had ever wished she had never been born. Her father immediately stopped her, unable to bear hearing such painful words. Carolina apologized, then quietly declared that she would no longer run away from her fate. That evening, while packing for her journey, Flora Sanchez barged into her room after hearing about the marriage. She mocked Carolina, saying she was nothing more than a sacrifice sent away to satisfy another country. Flora Sanchez laughed that no one, not even the feared bloodthirsty prince, would ever love someone as worthless as her. Carolina simply remained silent. Deep down, she felt relieved that after tomorrow she would never have to see Flora Sanchez again. That night, it was time to leave. With tears in her eyes, Carolina thanked Duke Raymond for everything he had done. The Duke hugged her tightly and cried openly. He told her he did not care whether she became famous or accomplished great things. His only wish was for her to live a long, healthy, and happy life. As the carriage rolled away, Carolina looked back until Duke Raymond disappeared from sight. After traveling through the night, the carriage finally reached the border, where the famous Pyborn knights were waiting. Since the marriage negotiations were being kept secret, Carolina would travel into the Malcosian Empire together with the returning knight order to avoid attracting attention. For the rest of the journey, she would have no maid or bodyguard by her side. Gathering her courage, Carolina Sanchez stepped out of the carriage and greeted the imposing knights. Standing before them was their commander, the feared second prince of the Malcosian Empire, Edward Ruby Martinez, the man the world knew as the bloodthirsty prince. That marks the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed it and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like.